Happy Saturday. It's April 1st. April is here. It's here. It's here. It's here. Whew. Wow. Wow. April is here. It's April the 1st. April Fool's Day. All the pranks. You're going to receive all the pranks and all of it's just a day to just really laugh, a day of laughter while it's raining here, storming here. We're in the middle of a storm here in Atlanta. Remember that April showers bring May flowers. It's something I grew up on, grew up believing, grew up witnessing that's true. So it's interesting that we start this year, or this month, I mean, with a rainstorm. So just remember, April showers brings May flowers. And I'm talking today about don't be a fool with your finances. Don't be a fool with your finances. It's April Fool's Day, but this is not a joke. This is not a prank. Do not be a fool with your finances. We have spring break that's here. Spring break, that includes spring break travel, spring break activities. Really, really take the time to plan. It's prom season, and shortly thereafter will be graduations. The money grabs are are upon us. That's what April means to a lot of parents and aunties and godmommies and uncles and goddads. They know they got to fork up because they got family members, children of friends that are graduating. The money grabs are coming. The money grabs are here. So if you're planning spring break travel, make sure you go with cash on hand. And I don't even advise to use a debit card, only if it's a matter of safety. You don't like to really travel with cash, but I advise you to travel with cash because typically when you use a debit card or a credit card, you can't really keep up in your mind, in your head, with how much money you're spending. But when you have cash on hand and you can see it and touch it, and you know that money is dwindling, it will make you be a lot more measurable and measure your finances and how you're spending. Plan out your activities, have a list of activities that you want to do, and just do a simple budget. I advise you to write it out. I don't want you to do any calculations in your head because that really doesn't help you in terms of budgeting. You actually need to see it, mark it off, determine if this is an activity that's for you, that really fits into your budget, and you're not borrowing money to actually participate in this activity. Because when you put it on a credit card, you're typically borrowing money unless you pay the money in advance for this trip, which we typically don't do. And then with prom, I am advising parents, I'm advising prom goers, you may want to rethink buying a brand new dress, or whatever your attire is for prom. If you're choosing to wear like a pantsuit or a prom gown or a dress, think about getting a dress that's been pre-loved, because one thing we know for sure is that dress probably has not been worn maybe once or twice. And if it's in good condition, it's cleaned very well, and it looks very well, and it still has a lot of appeal and is very stylish, I advise you go to a great Goodwill or wherever you buy your pre-loved items. If you buy them offline, I advise you to really look into a pre-loved dress. And that, for people who are not familiar with that terminology, is a dress that's been worn before. That's why I say Goodwill, so you could relate to what I'm saying. Pre-loved, there's nothing wrong with pre-loved. My daughter enjoys thrifting, and she always finds great cute little dresses for my granddaughter. She'll wear it once, maybe twice, and she'll go back and trade it back in, or redonate it, or whatever it is, however the system is for giving clothes. I guess it's just depending on who you're giving the clothes to or who you're working with. So a pre-loved prom dress, even a pre-loved outfit for graduation. If you want to wear something really nice for graduation, or you have any kind of events coming up, think about just either renting something, not and don't spend your whole budget on it. And in terms of not being a fool with your finances, a lot of us are getting income tax refunds. So I advise single parents who have kids who that you don't spend the money all at once when you get it. And particularly if you're getting refunds from both the IRS and then your state Department of Revenue, and you have that money coming, have a plan for it, because when you don't have a plan for your money, that money disappears. Have a plan ahead of receiving the refunds. If you've already received your IRS refund, and you have not received your state refund, or vice versa, however it goes, if you still have that money coming, it's okay to just today write out a budget and just really determine how you want to spend that money. You don't necessarily need to spend all of your cash. And if you have a plan to get a return on that money by investing in something, not a friends helping friends, not the circle, the flower, or any of those activities, because the returns, as we've known, or we've experienced, you don't always get the return, especially if you're coming into those type of plans late. If you start the circle or the flower, whatever was going on during the pandemic, those different financial opportunities that came up, don't invest in anything like that, but have a more solid plan for investing your tax refund where you can get a return on it. Don't always, I don't advise that you, do the, I say do a plan that can, or have a strategy that where you could make the most of your money, but a get rich quick type of opportunity probably isn't best for you with this particular money. I'll just say that. And again, I say there's nothing with balling. When you get a whole lot of money, like your tax refunds all at once, when you get a flush of cash, you're gonna want to spend crazy money. And it's okay to get that out of you, because it's like the money burns a hole in your pocket. So that's okay. It's okay to spend crazy money, but just do it one time. Just do one item. Don't spend crazy money and you look up, you have 4 or 5 packages coming in the mail from Amazon or whoever, Wayfair, Fingerhut, whoever you're ordering from, and you just look up and you have all these packages. No, one item for your crazy money spend. Cut back on unnecessary expenses when you can. I don't know if you noticed, but when we're dining out, there's so many different charges that show up on our receipts. We're like, okay, a service charge, gratuity, like what are all of these charges? I am all for taking care of our servers. I'm all for it. However, you do have to be mindful of those charges that show up. And there has been like an increase in food prices at restaurants. Like, it's astronomical. You're like, okay, I really could have gone grocery shopping and cooked this food. We go out for the entertainment side, for the fellowship, but then sometimes it really will end up busting your budget, especially if you have more than one group of friends or different tribes that you go out and entertain with. So be mindful of what's showing up on these receipts. Know ahead of time what you have to spend, and have a conversation even with the people that you're going out with, because there have been times I've gone out with people and I have a set budget, and then somebody in the group, I've gone to various events, and somebody in the group will always say, well, we'll just split the check. Well, no, we're not going to just split the check. I want to pay for the items that I purchased because I had a specific budget in mind. And it's not okay for you to say we want to split the check when you maybe have alcohol on your bill, or you're drinking a soda and I ordered water and a salad because I knew this is how I wanted to spend my money. So I'm never too embarrassed to tell people, well, no, you can do the split after I get my bill. Please separate mine. And I have no problem because I am not a flexer when it comes to things like that. And I have a budget in mind, so it's not okay for you to determine how I spend my money. So you want to definitely control your spending and know that debt is for suckers. We're getting out of the sucker state, the sucker realm. Let's get away from spending, making other people richer, because what we've seen is, in these past few years, prior really to the pandemic, but during the pandemic, of course it was all a little bit fuzzy about what was going on, but now we're seeing that, there's the poor and the rich, and there's really no in between. So you have to determine, are you going to be that on the poor side, making the rich richer, these investors richer with these credit cards, and keeping a revolving balance on your credit cards? Are you going to use your credit cards to just make transactions, and because you want to just take advantage of the rewards or the loyalty points, or are you using your credit cards to survive? If it's a matter of survival, you have another issue. But if you're using your credit card specifically because you just want to get points, and you plan to travel, and you've really thought that far in advance, then you're not a sucker. But credit card and that kind of debt is for suckers if you are enslaved to the banks because you're stuck with these high interest rates, and you can't get out of this cycle of using your credit card. So, just choose what your debt eliminator will be. Rainy days will always be ahead. Like, again, today is a rainy day here in Atlanta, so in Georgia, and it's a great time to just sit down with your finances today. Just map out how are you going to spend the rest of this week, how you plan to spend your money the rest of this month and throughout the rest of this year, from this day forward. Don't beat yourself up about what you didn't do, or a New Year's resolution that you didn't follow. Don't beat yourself up about it. Map out a plan from this day forward. This is how I plan to get out of this situation. This is how I plan to spend my money. This is how I plan to get a return on my assets, my investments. It's purpose over poverty. Hey, that's where I am today. Purpose over poverty. Diversify how you do your investments. Don't just invest in something because you want to be safe. Just take a little bit of risk depending on how much money you have, and diversify. Don't put all of your eggs in one basket. That could include like a mix of stocks, bonds, other assets. If you plan on doing some real estate, if you plan on maybe getting on Toro, make sure you've educated yourself on these different ways of investing in these different investments, and you have a grasp on your portfolio and how you're building your portfolio. Keep an eye on interest rates. Make sure you're monitoring your credit cards to see what the current interest rate is. Know how much you're spending. If you're using credit cards, you should know how to do your average daily balance. How to determine how much your APR is affecting you daily. You should know that daily rate. You should have an understanding of that daily rate. The math is not hard, but it is a little bit complex, but you can get through it. And I remember traveling on a plane one day, and I just grabbed a credit card and just really sat and did the math on it. And I got really angry. I'm like, oh my God, all of this money that I've spent on this credit card, just on the average daily in terms of your interest. I'm like, I am sick. I cannot believe this organization is making this bank is making this much money off of me on my credit card. I could not believe it. I was so sick and so determined to pay that credit card off. Now, I've had some times where I was a little bit, I backslid. I ended up back in the same position with this credit card. but it's like when I write things down, it's so spiritual and it sticks so much more when you actually just write it out. So if you have a whole lot of credit cards, I don't advise you to do it with all of your credit cards. Just do it with one, because it may be a little bit overwhelming and it may make you really, really sick and even go into a state of depression when you look at how the banks really, really make money off of us in terms of credit cards, and how we could have spent that money so much, we would have placed that money in other um, places as opposed to just giving it away to a bank. And those are just my tips for today. If you didn't start with me from the beginning, happy April Fool's Day, happy April 1st. Don't be a fool with your finances. And I say, have a great Saturday. Calculator.